Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, senior editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers preview. I feel like this is the longest running podcast on the network now, but nonetheless, the Steelers preview is back to preview the Steelers and Green Bay Packers at historic Lambeau Field in Week 4. And joining me, as always, to talk about the upcoming game is Dave Schofield, the editor of BTSC. What's up, Dave?
How's it going, Jeff?
It's going great. Just
good.
Freaking phenomenal.
I'm tired.
We all are. And the other part of the other wheel of the tricycle is Brian Anthony Davis. What's up, Brian?
It is not the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field this weekend, but it's something. I love old John Facenda stuff. I wanted him to I actually wanted him to narrate my sex tape, but he died before I could do it. So and I can't get anybody to do a tape with me. So with that being said, you know what? I'm down. Of course, we're all down. But you know what? Not only are we down, we're down. But here's the thing. I'm feeling it. I'm actually feeling it this week. I'm ready to right the ship. I'm thinking we're going to party like it's 1989. And if you think about 1989, you got to think about this. The Steelers lost to the Browns 51-0 to start that year at home. Then the next week, actually, they went to Cincinnati to play the Bengals and lost 42-10. And everyone's like, it's over. It's over in that. But you know what? It wasn't over. They went to the playoffs. And what did they do in week 3? A huge team came in. The Minnesota Vikings from the north. They came in to Heinz Field. I know we're not going to, they didn't come to Heinz Field, it's Three River Stadium. But you know what happened? So they come to play the Steelers, and the Steelers knocked them down. So I'm thinking there's some crazy redemption in here, and Seattle does have 2 losses, Sean Manahan, and that's $2. Thanks for the tip jar. But you know what? I'm fired up, and I'm feeling good. So all of you guys that are Dan, get on up.
Is there a dog? Is there a dog on your desk?
Oh, yeah. So we've got a rescue dog, and the rescue dog is attacking the Hermione and Luna, the little dachshunds. And so they're scared, so they have to hang out with me at all times. I didn't realize she got in camera. So I do apologize for showing my wiener.
No, that was good, Brian. Keep your wiener off the screen.
We've gone from sex tape to wieners, and we're less than 3 minutes in here. So, all right. I don't even know what to say to that. Hey, Gay, how about this?
Okay.
You need to laugh.
I was fine. I'm in a great mood. I just finished recording Let's Ride. I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist here. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk. I want to talk about a game from 2009. And it was the last regular season game that Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger went head to head. What do you remember most about that game? Because that was a memorable one. Dave, I'm sure you remember. What was the one thing you remember most?
The last play of the game. That's the most memorable thing of that game.
Well, it is the most memorable. I remember the way it started. Mike Wallace, bomb, touchdown. Like it was like right off the bat. These two quarterbacks were just slinging the rock around Heinz Field. And what did Ben throw for over? He threw for over 400, didn't he?
Hold on,
over 5.
Oh, did he go over 5? Is that his first time over 5?
He had 503, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, he had 503.
Hold on.
You got to look at
and that one was he had 503. Exactly.
Holy cow. What did Aaron Rodgers throw for? Because he threw for a lot too.
I have that too. Aaron Rodgers and that one. Oh, hold on. That's the wrong game. He threw for 383.
Oh. Jeez, that's crazy.
What
a game.
I remember that game well. I remember where we ate before that game. I remember being all excited. I remember the fact that my daughter was not very old during that game because she was born in 2009. And my wife went to bed, and I was supposed to get my daughter to sleep. And I finally got her to sleep. And then I cheered and went crazy and woke her up, and she's screaming. And my wife's coming out, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "The Steelers won." She's like, that was no consolation to a very tired mom.
No, I remember where I was. I was at a friend's house. My friend that passed away from ALS, I've referenced him a lot on my Let's Ride podcast. He was watching at his house, and it was snowing here in Maryland. And I was like, oh, man, if we could just have a snow day tomorrow. Because after as a teacher, man, if we had a snow day the next day, we had it off, and I was just on cloud nine. That was such a great game. And then I don't want to reference the other time that the two quarterbacks met, but it's hard to believe that this is only the third meeting between Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers, because it seems like every time the Steelers and Packers played, Aaron Rodgers was always hurt. Who was it? Matt Flynn was the quarterback the last time the Steelers were in Lambeau, and that was when Troy Polamalu, picked up the fumble and raced down the field, I believe, for a score.
And that was the Sunday before Christmas also.
Huh, there you go. There you go. And then who was it? Brett Hundley last time they played Green Bay in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And that was in 2017. That was the last second Chris Boswell field goal, I believe, to win that one.
It was. That was one that you thought that the Steelers should have. I mean, I think they were pretty heavily favored in that one.
Yes. Yeah, if you bet the Steelers to cover, they did not. They did not. So, okay, so a little bit of recent history there for you about the Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. I want to get things started off with news. So, Dave, the injury report is kind of all over the place. Why don't we run over the injury report first, talk about some of these banged up players and what that might mean for the Steelers this Sunday?
Okay, so let's start with the Steelers. Let's go with the did not play players on Thursday. One, there are two players that have not practiced at all this week. That would be Carlos Davis. You're starting to look like, man, they should have just put that guy on IR before week 2, because it looks like he's going to miss his third straight game. So it wouldn't have mattered, if you know what I mean. But I don't know if they knew it at the time or not. The other one was Chuks Okorafor, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. He's not playing.
No.
Because in order to get through the protocol, you have to do physical activities. You have to practice at least in a limited capacity in order to move through stuff. There's no way after not practicing for 2 days. I'm not saying it's impossible, because I don't know the exact protocol, but from everything that I've seen with the protocol in the past, if you're not practicing on Thursday, I mean, maybe there's a chance if you practice on Friday, but he's not playing. He's not playing. He's not playing. Some Steeler fans might be pretty happy about that. And then Rashad Coward did not practice on Thursday either. He was limited on Wednesday. I actually said this to Jeff. I'm like, if he's limited on Wednesday, it's because he got hurt during practice on Wednesday, because he wasn't even active on Sunday. So, and wasn't on the injury report last week. So the reason he was probably limited on Wednesday is he got hurt in practice and then couldn't practice today. The good news of the full participants, the 3 players that were on the injury report that were back as full: Ben Roethlisberger, after missing Wednesday due to a pectoral injury, which we all know is basically his coach's day off anyway. So he was back. So that doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem. Deontay Johnson went from limited to full from Wednesday to Thursday. So that's a great progression for him.
Upgrade.
As well as the big one Trent Jordan Watts went from limited on Wednesday to full on Thursday. Then you have Juju, who upgraded from didn't practice Wednesday to limited Thursday. The key is going to see if he's full tomorrow to see if he's good to go. And Alex Highsmith, limited. So at least he's getting out there, which he didn't do last week, but we'll have to see how it goes tomorrow if he's going to be able to go.
Did you mention the new edition?
Oh, and that's right, the new edition. Okay. Every time you say that, I want to bust into song when you say new edition. So if it is love, why do sorry. And that would be
Dave, come on with the singing. Cool it now. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know, that's really bad.
Yeah, I better cool it now. Ooh, watch out. Okay, Chase Claypool, hamstring, limited on Thursday.
You're going to lose control.
I'm going to lose control.
Sorry, I'm done.
So Chase Claypool was limited, with a hamstring injury. Yes. That's interesting.
So
okay.
The fact that he didn't practice yesterday, that has to tell you that was probably something done in practice. You don't know the extent of it because, you say, oh, well, at least he was limited. Well, if he went out and started practicing and then got hurt and couldn't do anything else, he goes down as limited. So tomorrow, that's going to be a real interesting one to look at.
Yes, and key injuries on the other side of the field for the
on
Packers.
The other side of the field. Okay, I had that here and it went away. I got to find it again because there was a new one there today as well.
Yes,
and that was running back. AJ
Dillon.
Or no. Well, both Dillon and Jones are both limited.
Right.
So I can't remember. I only have today's report. I don't know which one was new and which one wasn't.
Jones has been on all week.
Okay. That's what I couldn't remember which one was which. Then you've got the Marquez Valdez Scantling, wide receiver. He didn't practice either day this week. You've got a cornerback with a concussion. I don't know where he is on the depth chart. You have a guard who didn't practice, Jenkins, that didn't practice. Other than that, the big thing that stands out is the 2 running backs and the wide receiver.
Yeah. All right, Brian, outside of TJ Watt, we know that's the one everyone's looking at. What injury is one that it's most important for you going into this game?
You know what? It's really funny because when would have we ever thought that people would be saying, hey, Joe Haeg might start and get really excited about it? And that might be something that you're looking at this week because, I mean, I don't expect Zach Banner we don't even know if he's back because they have 3 weeks to put him on the roster. But you wouldn't think he would step in right away anyways. So this has got to be Joe Haeg starting if Chooks can't go. And like Dave was saying, he's probably not going to go. So that's probably significant. There's a lot of people, like Dave said, that there might be some people happy about this. You never cheer for an injury, of course, but I'm anxious to see what Joe Haeg can do because he's kind of like a backup quarterback where everybody loves him right now since he hasn't had a chance to play. Now that he has a chance to play, you're either going to love him right now, he's going to come in and do well, or he's going to be, to quote Dave Schofield and Denny Green, he is who we thought he was.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, wasn't he like the highest rated run blocker PFF for the preseason or something like that?
Yeah, for the preseason, I had to go back and look that up again to remember what that was.
I remember a good run blocking score or something like that.
Yeah, he did. He had one of the better scores on the Steelers offensive line. And early in the preseason, he had the best score in the NFL. Now I don't think he finished the preseason that way, but he did all right. I mean, for the Steelers, he had the 3rd highest PFF score this past week in the 33 snaps that he played. Only behind, Trey Turner was actually the top scorer on PFF for the Steelers on offense. And then Cody White, his 9 snaps was second. But Joe Haeg but believe it or not, it's funny. It was his pass blocking score that was better because Joe Haeg played 33 snaps. He only had 1 snap where he was run blocking.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was surprised there was 1.
Yeah, it was 1 snap when he was run blocking this past week. Now, but like we said, we don't know if it's Joe Haeg. We don't know if it's Zach Banner. I know a lot of people are hopeful for that. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket or the other because I think if Banner's back, to me, if Banner's back on the roster, I think he starts. If he goes back on the active roster, because he's not. He is still on injured reserve. He's just started the 21-day process. So the Steelers would have to make a roster move with him by 4:00 on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we don't know, but it's looks like it's going to be one of those two. And if Banner's not put on the roster, then I'm thinking you've got to elevate Traz Green from the practice squad.
And that would be logical.
Yeah. Yeah, because you might want to have a 3rd tackle for a game.
It might be. I mean,
they could say
could slide in.
Well, but they also say in a pinch, Coward could play tackle, who's normally a guard, but he hasn't.
He's hurt.
He's hurt. So they're looking that they might be down 2 linemen for this one.
Yeah, I just hope groin watch is over. That's all.
Yeah,
but Dave, what injury are you looking at other than TJ Watt that you're like, oh man? What are you at?
Groin watch. I'm just picturing all the Steelers with groin injuries running on the beach in slow motion. It's groin watch.
It's groin watch 2021.
What are we doing tonight? What is
David
this?
Hasselhoff?
Okay. Yes. Germans loved it.
The Germans love a good strudel.
Yeah. Here we go. What was the question? Something about a groin injury. I don't know.
We're freaking slap happy tonight.
Groin.
It is a what injury
Highsmith.
other than
I think Highsmith and Juju were the main ones to watch. Juju at least was progressing. You know, it's funny because you say, well, Highsmith's practiced more this week than what Juju has because Juju didn't practice and then limited. Highsmith was limited. The thing was exactly what you said, Jeff. They were elevating or whatever term you used.
Upgrading.
There we go. They were upgrading.
Because you're downgraded.
Yes.
You're upgraded.
Yeah. So Juju was upgraded so far in the week where Highsmith was holding steady. But those are the two main ones I'm the most concerned about because I'm already assuming that, you know, people that were practicing fully today, I'm thinking that they're probably good for Sunday.
Yeah. I think that to me, if Highsmith could, even if he's not like, hey, coach, I'm going to be able to go, but we got to limit my snaps. Then if Trent Jordan is fine and Melvin Ingram's fine, then they'll be fine. Because even if Highsmith just comes in and spells them for one or two plays, that'll be the pass rush that we've been waiting to see since Buffalo or the first quarter of Las Vegas. So they need that back in a big way. Let's go to the main talking point of this podcast, and that is reasons for hope. I decided to throw this out there, and we ran with it for the podcast title tonight. All these Steeler fans are so down in the dumps. And right now, the Jaguars are beating Cincinnati 14-0, and everyone's all, comparing this and comparing that, blah, whatever. You know, I'm not down in the dumps, but then again, I'm an optimistic guy. But let's give some listeners out there some reasons that fans should have a little bit of hope. It might not be like this glaring ray of sunshine, but just a glimmer, a little bit of hope. Brian, we'll start with you. What's one reason why the Steelers fan base should be a little bit hopeful?
Well, you guys were just talking about it. One, TJ Watt. And you know what? He's coming home to Wisconsin. He's going to be fired up to be playing there. He looks like he's healthy, and he changes things for that defense. He really, I mean, we were talking in the last couple of weeks about having a guy that could put the team on their shoulders. I think TJ Watt is one of those guys, along with Cam Hayward, but TJ Watt could definitely put the defense on his shoulders quite a bit. And, you know, it might be crazy, and we'll never know because this is ifs and buts, but if he's healthy in that Raiders game in that second half, and if he's in that Cincinnati game, everything changes. I'm not saying they win, but everything changes and they have an opportunity to get to the passer more. So I am going to say that is a huge ray of sunshine. And I'm looking, just like Rod Stewart, I'm looking for a reason to believe.
There you go. Dave, what about you? What reason do you have for being a little bit hopeful this Sunday?
Well, perhaps maybe the Steelers just play better on the road. Perhaps maybe the Steelers play better when they're the underdog. I don't know. So far, when they've been on the road and they've been underdogs this season, we were pretty happy with that result. You know, then if you're getting your players back healthy, but honestly, some of the biggest concerns with this team, I know a lot of people are concerned with the quarterback play, but a lot of people are also concerned with the offensive line play. The offensive line play is something that you should be hoping is going to improve as the season goes on. So with each week that comes, you're like, is this the week they're going to make a jump? Is this the week they're going to make a jump? So you can be hopeful for that. Now, I can't say the same thing for the quarterback play, but I just think, you know, is it a trend or is it just sporadic? You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But if this defense can get back to what they can do, and if this team can kind of realize that, hey, we're supposed to get trounced by this team, we need to go out here and show what we can do, then let's see what happens. But I'm also going to say a disclaimer, because I said this on Tuesday night. The Steelers don't have to win this game to show marked improvement. And you're like, oh, but if they lose this game and they go to 1-3, you know what? The 2015 Steelers, if they would have started 1-3, they would have made the postseason. But they started 0-4, and therefore they didn't. There's always a lot more season left to go. So it's more, would you rather start 1-3 and then actually have something to build on? Or would you be one of those teams that we've seen in the past that have started 3-1 or 4-0, and then all of a sudden all their injuries pile up right then and they just can't get anything going for the rest of the season? It's all about moving on week to week. I think I said more than enough.
No, I agree with you. I'm going to ask you all a question before I give my reason for hope. When was the last time you saw a Steelers team play that poorly? And I think I know what game you're going to point to from 2020 that played that poorly that we saw on Sunday at Heinz Field. When was the last time you saw that much ineptitude? Either
Ryan,
one.
You want to go first?
Well, yeah, I can go first. We saw it in a few years. We've seen it actually a lot, but of course, I thought the poor play that I'm going to talk about was definitely in that playoff game, and that's if you're talking about the first half. They kept on trying to come back, and they put up the points, but Cleveland wasn't allowing that. But in the same vein, I'd like to go all the way back to 2013 because Dave just sparked something in me when he said that. I thought that team, the first 4 weeks of the season, was worse than this team. That team was in disarray. They lost Pouncey. They lost they lost a linebacker. I believe it was Larry Foote. That's why Vince Williams came in. But those first 4 games, including the last one that you had in England, to go to 0-4 against the Vikings, that was terrible. I thought this team was actually worse than what this team was.
Yeah, that's good. Dave, what about you?
Well, I know some people in the live chat, when I actually looked for a second, were saying, how about Cincinnati last year? Yeah, but in that Cincinnati game last year, the Steelers weren't really out of that game. I might be getting it confused with the game with the football team, but they were winning it more than anything, but maybe they weren't. But I know they're running together. The ones that stand out to me more than anything is we could all mention the infamous helmet swinging game of 2019 was pretty bad. But really, the one that I would go back to more than anything is 2019 week 1 and the 33-3 trouncing in New England.
Oh, yeah.
That was just, you were like, wow, is there anything that you can build on with this team other than to say that they're playing a team that must be the best thing that's ever happened? Because if not, then they're really in trouble.
So my point is that you could point to the entire 2019 season, really, after Ben goes down. And what you found is that even as bad as it was at times, they were still able to find ways to win with Devlin Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. And say what you want about the competition and all this stuff and the defense, whatever. That defense is eerily similar to the one they have this year. I'm a firm believer, if you want hope, is that this defense, if they can stay healthy, and that's a big if, I understand that, they're going to be in every single game that they play. Every game. I don't care who. This Sunday, if that defense is healthy, they'll be in the game. Not saying they're going to win the game, but they're going to be in the game. And then I say to myself on the other side of the coin is the offense. I don't feel like it's always going to be this bad. They're going to have improvement. The offensive line might not be a top 10 unit by the end of the year, but they're going to improve. They're going to improve in the running game. They're going to improve finding new ways to move the football. I think that's part of the maturation process. I think that's where fans should find hope, is a defense that is really, really good when healthy and an offense that should be improving. I believe it 100%. Dave, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I do. You remember in 2009, Ben Roethlisberger went out, Mason Rudolph came in.
2019, you mean?
What did I say? 2009?
2009, yeah.
19. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Mason Rudolph was like in middle school, I think.
Yeah. If that. Okay. Mason Rudolph comes in, and he plays somewhat admirably against the 49ers, but they lose in San Francisco.
Gosh, they were gifted they were gifted the ball at the beginning of the game.
Yep. Then you had, they beat up on the Bengals pretty good. Then you had that Ravens game where he gets knocked out.
Literally.
And notice the problem after that. A lot of people were saying he just doesn't seem comfortable. He just doesn't seem confident. He just, it seems like he's going to try to rush the ball, that he might not, is he willing to take the hit? Did you kind of feel a little bit like that again on this past Sunday with Ben Roethlisberger? Like,
well,
KT Smith talked about, like
that's what I was going to say, that he wrote that in the article. Yeah.
But what was that kind of a similar feel to you guys? That's kind of when I look back, and because I've gone back and I haven't watched the whole game, but I watched certain parts where I wanted to find certain things. There were certain things I did not want to watch again. And that's how I'm feeling. I'm like, I broke down on StatGeek this morning the first offensive play that the Steelers ran of the second half. And the reason I did that is because they finally ran the personnel grouping that I've been wanting to see from them, where they had 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and Chase Claypool. The only thing that they did different that I wanted to call on is that they had Gentry instead of Ebron, but it didn't matter. And when the defense went big, they spread them wide. And you know what? Ben Roethlisberger, he had a good, clean pocket, and he threw it real fast anyway. It's because it's like even when he has it, he doesn't necessarily feel like he should, if you know what I mean. So people were like, I almost felt like Ben was uncomfortable in the pocket. So
I think that, Steeler Chick 46 says this in the live chat. I heard Todd Haley on the Pat McAfee show, and they were asking about it. And he said, you can tell that Ben doesn't trust the offensive line to hold up. Yeah. He's got the happy feet, and he's looking around, and he's wondering where the pass rush is coming. And it's a recipe for disaster until he feels like he can actually trust the line, which my next question is, I'll ask Brian this: what is it going to take for him to trust the offensive line? A no sack game? I mean, is it just like, what is it going to take? Is there anything tangible that we can actually say, there it is?
There actually is, and it's simply, I like how you said a no sack game, but if he could be clean, and this is actually going to help Ben Roethlisberger too, if he sees them run blocking more as well, because he's going to be able to change his game and not feel like he's going to pass all the time if the run blocking gets better too. That sounds crazy, because why you would think that, he just needs to be clean and not running for his life. But if he could have Najee going between the tackles and not have to throw to him 19 times a game, then you change everything that what you do. All of a sudden, you get your play action in there. You get that back. All of a sudden, you are relying on getting 4 or 5 yards per carry possibly instead of the 2.8. And then everything changes because you're not passing the football. So, yeah, I think he can trust the line with just a good game, a solid game on both aspects of the offense.
Dave, you were an offensive line coach and you played the line. How much of these issues on the line are Kendrick Green, in your opinion? Let's be blunt.
There's times when Kendrick Green looks really bad. I mean, there was a play that was floating around out there where who's on the right side of him? Trey Turner. Trey Turner goes to pull. He's supposed to, go over to block Trey Turner's guy. And where he expected him to be, he was cutting hard back against Green and went right in front of his face and was basically not touched and comes through and blows up the play. And it was like one of those, oh crap moments. You know what I'm saying? That guy just totally just dusted me because I thought he didn't know what was coming, and really I didn't know what was coming. So he's getting some of those real teachable moments, if you know what I mean. With him, it's not usually a lack of desire or drive or fire, if you know what I mean. It's more, making sure that he's understands the assignment and not taking things for granted, things like that. But to say that it's not Kendrick Green would be foolish, but to say it's all Kendrick Green would say that would also be as well. They aren't working well as a unit. And when 3 guys make a really nice block and 2 guys don't, it goes down as a really sucky play because they're just not all having it all together at the same time.
Gosh, I hate hearing that about Green because I want him to play well. And do you think Hassenauer and or Finney would be a better option?
I don't know that they would be better either. I've always said I thought Finney was better at guard.
Yeah.
And I was glad to see him play well in the preseason, Finney, because I was worried about him coming back after not playing at all last year and everything. So that's encouraging. Hassenauer only played, I think, like 9 snaps or something, but he played pretty well on those. But I don't know that they have a great option there no matter what. And for those people that are talking about centers or tackles and they need to go sign someone, do you realize how long it would take to get them up to speed? You don't sign someone on Monday. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick was a huge exception. And that was them just saying, you go back, you just play single high safety and we'll kind of do everything around you. You can't do that with an offensive lineman to come in and work with other people. I mean, if you bring someone in, it's going to take weeks for them to be ready. I mean, look, Trey Turner came in after minicamp, and he barely was ready by the start of the regular season. And that's a 5-time Pro Bowler. So it would take too much for people that are saying you got to go sign a lineman. It's going to take a long time to get them up to speed. They're not going to help you right away. Now, the only question is if you know it's going to be that bad in 5 weeks from now, that you still need to have them there to be ready for it when they're ready.
Brian, you want to chime in? Unmute yourself first.
And to Dave's point, do you really want somebody? You want the Sean Spence factor? Do you want somebody that's sitting on his couch right now? Trusting your offensive line to somebody that is not trusted to be on somebody else's team? No.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah. All right, with that, we're going to take a quick break. If you're listening on the audio side, head over to part 2. We're going to talk about the over-under, give our predictions, all this fun stuff. If you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, don't go anywhere because we're not going anywhere. We will be right back. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to part 2 of the Steelers preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, senior editor behind thesteelcurtain.com, joined by Brian Anthony Davis and Dave Schofield, as always, and we are talking about the upcoming game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dave, can you look up the line, please, and tell us if it's changed much after the report today?
Okay, well,
the line for the game?
I was thinking the offensive line.
No, I know the offensive line. No, I'm talking about the actual
line for the game.
Line. Yes.
No, well, we know it's probably not going to be Chooks and everything. No, the line for the game. I'm checking it right now. The last I saw it was 6.5, and that was earlier today, and it is still 6.5.
Okay. Keep that in mind. We're going to give our predictions here shortly. Let's do a little over-under, though, to start the second half. Tried to come up with some unique ones here. All right, so Ben Roethlisberger attempts. His attempts, 42.5. That's the line. Brian, over-under.
At this point, unless things have changed, unless the running game gets going, it's got to be over because he is going to be throwing the football a lot.
All right, Dave?
Unless they do the unthinkable and score early and get the lead, which is something that they don't do well. They make their defense have to shut you out in the first half. Then they're going to have to throw the ball. It's going to be over. That's just the way I see the game playing out.
I have it over, but like 45, not anything ridiculous over 50. All right, next, Najee Harris rushing yards. It's the 4th week for us doing this. It's been all over the map. 55.5 is the line. Brian, over under.
I'm actually going to say over. I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope that it's going to happen. You might see something change with Joe Haig or Zach Banner out there who are run specialists when it comes to blocking. So, yeah, it's going to happen. Over.
Dave?
You said 55.5. Is that what you said?
Yes.
I like that. Let's go over with 58.
Oh, nice. I'm going to say over as well. I think he's going to be around 60. Let me ask you a question I asked Michael Beck on Let's Ride when he joins me every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Does Najee Harris rush for 100 yards this season at all? Brian, yes or no?
Absolutely. It's going to happen.
You're saying absolutely like this is I mean, the guy hasn't rushed for over 50 yet, has he?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
He's Najee.
He's Najee freaking Harris.
Thank you, Dave. He's Najee freaking Harris. And the reason I say that is because we've talked about this on the show. He's taking 4-yard losses and making them 1-yard gains. And people are like, oh, he's only rushing for 1 yard there. He's making stuff happen. If he gets help, even on that right side, he gets one guy that's blocking better, which he might get help there this week. It could possibly happen that he runs for 100. He's a guy, I know he doesn't have breakaway speed like in Etienne when we were talking about the draft, but this guy, if he gets out of the open, he's dangerous. We see what happens when he gets out in the open on those screen passes. So right now, those screen passes are his rushing yards. So if you look at him there, this is the old Todd Haley offense of 7 years ago when a little screen pass to the wide receiver because nobody could run the ball. Isaac Redman wasn't doing it. Jonathan Dwyer wasn't doing it. So they were doing that stuff all the time with that short little pass. Now they don't have to do it with a wide receiver. They are doing it with a wide receiver, but they've got Najee to do it. The line is going to get him some room. Sean Manahan says something very interesting. And if the line can stop holding in those penalties, he's definitely going to get them too.
Dave, you think he goes over 100?
I think, as long as he continues to be able or to be available for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think there's a pretty good chance that he will, because he's going to find one of those games where he just has 2 different times where he just busts a big run. And what's funny is he's going to have to go over 100 yards by having like 15 carries, because he's not going to get, they're not giving him more than that. And it's really hard to go over that many yards. I mean, because the only way that happens is the Steelers need to be in control of the game. And as I keep outlining about them and scoring, I used to be obsessed with them not putting up points on the opening drive. Now they don't even do it in the whole first quarter. And if you're constantly never playing with a lead, then you can't really, give your running back. The bigger question is Najee Harris ever going to get a game where he gets 20 carries? That's the thing. He's just, even though he's playing all those snaps, he's just not getting the ball enough on a handoff.
Right.
Now I say that and I'm like, wait a second. Did he already have a game where he had more than 20 attempts? I don't know if he does or not.
I don't think so.
I'm checking now.
All right. But that's what's up. Brian, you got to unmute yourself again.
Yeah, he the most he has so far is 16.
All right. Sorry, I'm worried about the dogs going crazy, so that's why I'm muting. Let me ask you this question. Your offensive MVP so far, is it Najee Harris?
Yeah, probably.
That's what I'm saying. I think he is too right now. So I think he's going to get opportunities, and you're going to see it a whole lot more as time goes on. And at least we've got the Detroit game coming up in maybe 6 weeks.
Can I give a Dave answer to that one about the MVP?
Sure.
He probably is right now, but he's not. He's not the player who I think is playing the best on offense. To me, that's Pat Freiermuth. Okay, but he's not in a position to be MVP, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's get back to over under here. Najee Harris receiving yards.
Oh, here you go.
77.5. Brian.
Oh, but my 80 last week was crazy. Oh, you're going to set it at 80? Yeah.
Okay. Last week.
No, we didn't think of it. I didn't think it was crazy either. I was actually with you on that.
Yeah.
I didn't have it last week.
No, I asked it as an extra one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the over under, Brian, 77.5.
Well, are we going to keep these stats to see who's leading over and under?
No.
I think Dave is
it's like, too depressing.
It's like, I win every week.
Yeah, you guys don't know what they are. You don't remember.
Yeah, I think he's going over again because I think it's a priority this week. Especially if the running game doesn't get going, I'm saying it's going to get going and he's going to have a great game. But it's not hard if there's so many opportunities to get a 30-40 yarder out of him. And that's definitely a possibility. Even a 25-26 yarder on one, they're going to be throwing his way. The only thing that could stop this is the what we were talking about last week when Ben went to Canada and said, "Hey, we got to go to Freiermuth," and said that out loud. So if it's something that the Green Bay defense is going to be keying on, then it's not going to happen, and then Freiermuth is going to go crazy.
Dave, over under 77.5.
I am going under for 2 reasons. I know, just like, you don't have to give a bigger explanation. It's Dave. I'm going to give you a huge explanation. Two reasons. One, after last week, Green Bay is going to need to account for him more, which might open up other things, which could be a very good thing. And 2, if Ben gets his real safety net back in Deontay Johnson that he can throw to as soon as he, sometimes I even wonder if Ben fully grips the ball because he's catching it and throwing it so fast. But that's because he trusts Deontay Johnson to get separation. If Deontay Johnson comes back, he's going to take, Harris got the extra targets that we thought would go to James Washington with Deontay Johnson being out. And no, they went to Harris. I think a lot of those will come back to Deontay this week.
Okay, I'm going to go under, but not by much. I think he's a little bit under on the receiving yards this Sunday. TJ Watt sacks, assuming that he plays. I'm going to set the line at 2.5. 2.5 for Trent Jordan. Brian Davis.
Under. He's coming off of an injury. I could see him getting 1.5.
Okay, Dave.
I'm going to go under, but I'll go slightly higher than Brian. I'll say 1.5 or 2.
He's playing in Wisconsin. He's going over. He's getting 3.
That'd be great.
Would be great. All right, Steelers turning the ball over. We'll set the line at 1.5. Brian, what do you think?
Let's go ahead and say 1. I think it's going to be over, but I'm going to be hopeful, and I'm going to say under. I'm going with my heart and not my gut. My gut is sometimes bigger than my heart. And my heart's big sometimes because it's going to explode soon. But with that being
because of your gut.
Yeah, because of my gut. So, but I'm just going to say under.
Dave?
Been there, know that. I'm going to say under again, going with my heart, because honestly, the only way the Steelers are going to, not the only way, but the best way for the Steelers to win this game is to not turn the ball over at all. So that was the whole point of my Stat Geek episode this morning. So yeah, I'm going under because I think that gives them the best chance to win, but I would not be shocked if it's over.
I'm going to go under as well. If they have any shot at winning, like you said, Dave, they can't turn it over. Okay. What about takeaways, though? Getting the ball from the Green Bay Packers, the over-under line is set at 2. Might have been a little aggressive with this one, but I did it anyways. Brian, over-under.
I'm just going to go ahead and let's go ahead and say over. I feel like they have a potential to take the ball.
Nice.
Wow.
Like 3. Jeez.
Wow.
It's been a long time since that's happened. Dave, over-under.
Under. Green Bay, I mean, they had the debacle that was their week 1. And the thing that's turned everything around for them is they haven't turned the ball over since. So it's what they do. They take care of it. So it's a big deal if the Steelers get 1. It really is. So if they get 2, that would be a really big deal, which is like, let's see this keep going. But I just have to go with, it's nothing against the Steelers defense. It's just the way that the Packers operate.
I'm going to go push and say they get 2 even. All right, now last one. Quarterback hits surrendered. So hits on Ben Roethlisberger. Now they were trending in the right direction after the 10 against Vegas. They did 7, I believe, against Cincinnati. I'm going to set the line at 4.5. We're trying to keep that trajectory going. Brian, over under.
I agree with you that it's going to go in the right direction, but not really, not less than 5. So let's just go ahead and say over, and I'm looking in the 5 or 6 range.
All right, Dave?
Over 6.
I think over as well, but I do think it's continuing to trend in the right direction. All right. That was over under. let's do some predictions, shall we? Let's get to our predictions. Let's have enough time for trivia. So let's go with Brian first. The line is 6.5. Dave looked it up. What's the over-under, Dave? Do you have that handy?
45.5, I think it is. Yes, 45.5.
All righty. So, Brian, how do you see this game shaking out? What's your score prediction? Let us know.
The Packers are 27th in the league. 24th in the league, giving up 27.7 points per game. They give up some points. Of course, the Steelers are only averaging 16.7 points per game. But I think that this is a game that they go into Green Bay and they win this game. So I am going to go ahead and say that the Steelers keep it right around their average. And when I'm saying the average of the Packers, and they score 27 points on Green Bay, and they give up only 22 points per game. The Steelers do. So let's go ahead and make it a little up it by 1. So 27-23.
Nice. All right. Steelers win. Dave, go ahead.
All right. It's almost like Brian was listening to my Stat Geek podcast this morning where I did those.
I don't do that
stuff. Yeah, of course not. You're not one of the nerds of steel. Anyway, what's crazy is that when it comes to yardage, the Steelers are actually ranked one ahead of Green Bay on offense. The Steelers will put up yards. The problem is the points. The Steelers are ranked 28th in the NFL in points. And just think if they didn't have the special teams touchdown. So my thing is I have not gotten a single one. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I have not gotten a single one of these picks right with the Steelers. So therefore, let's see if I can keep the trend going. And I'm going to go Packers. I'm going to think that the Steelers are going to score more points than they have. But I'm going to go the Packers win and cover. I'm going 31-23, but all the points are on offense, so it'll be the most offensive points they've had this season.
All right. I obviously the Steelers are a team that I always have high hopes for. I find them finding a way. Like that's always my mentality. Is I always think like, oh well, they have so much talent on offense, and Roethlisberger's not going to play this bad for an entire season, and the defense is getting healthy. I think that if they can go to Buffalo in week 1 and they found a way to win, and they're going to have a special type play again. So like Miles Killebrew, block punt, UG3 scoop and score. Like they needed that to win in Buffalo. They're going to need a play like that in Green Bay. Maybe it is a la Troy Polamalu, a scoop and score, or it's, the last time they were at Lambeau Field, or maybe it's a pick 6 by Joe Hayden or something like that. They're going to need something, but I think they get it. I actually think they do get that one play, and I actually think it's Roethlisberger that delivers the knockout punch. I have the Steelers winning 24-20 in this game, and I think it's kind of a bounce back game for the Steelers. And all of a sudden, the fan base doesn't know what to think because they already buried the team. Now they got to dig up the bones and try to put them back together again. So it'll be a crazy game. I do think it's going to be close, but I could also see it being a Packers blowout. If they show up the way they did last week. So who knows? Let's do a bold prediction, though. Brian, what's your bold prediction? It can't be bougie.
Okay, this is one that I've been using a lot, and I'm going to use it again. Pat Freiermuth, 2 touchdowns.
2. Okay. Dave, what about you?
Ben Roethlisberger continues his trend of throwing at least 2 touchdown passes when he faces the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, so that's a trend?
Yes. He has never played the Packers and not thrown at least 2 touchdowns in the game.
Wow.
So I'm going to say that continues.
All right. Let's see here. Bold prediction. I'm going to go with the Steelers hit on a trick play at some point. And I've got just this gut feeling. I feel like it's going to be big press. Maybe a fake punt. The guy's got a cannon. The guy's got a cannon. If Big Press if he throws a ball and it's a bomb, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go ballistic. But anyways, all right, good stuff. Good stuff here. Do we have a trivia? Both of you?
I I do, but we've basically already talked and answered it, but I'll do it anyway. We did it at the beginning. We talked about history of stuff with the Steelers and Packers, and you guys already mentioned that, Ben Roethlisberger's never lost to the Green Bay Packers in the regular season, and things of that nature. My question to you all was going to be, and I think you know this because I think Jeff already referenced it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When was the last time the Steelers and Packers played where neither Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback? And who were the quarterbacks?
Neither was quarterback?
Neither was quarterbacking. It was a Steelers Packers game that did not involve either Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers.
Shoot, I don't remember one where Ben didn't play. Brian, you should know this.
So neither of them. So
they were on the team, but they were.
No, I'm just saying the last time the two teams faced off.
Okay. I missed.
The last time these two teams faced off, and the quarterbacks and it wasn't Ben Roethlisberger or Aaron Rodgers. Neither one of them were the quarterbacks of the team when they played.
I'm going to have to go back to 1998. And I'm going to say that it was Cordell Stewart and Brett Favre in that game, because I don't believe that they played in 2001 for some reason, because there was still 5 teams. That was before the new format.
The new format.
The new format was 2002, and that was before the new format. And I know they played Atlanta. They played, not Atlanta, Tampa, who was in the Central at the time. I know they played Detroit that year. I know they played Minnesota, and they played the Bears. So let's go ahead and say 1998 Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh over Green Bay.
I'll go with that.
And you guys, the live chat, they all knew it. They jumped all over it. It was when Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger was on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but did not play in 2005 when Charlie Batch defeated Brett Favre 20-10 in that game. And I've suddenly just lost that game that I had here. That I was going to reference because Jeff referenced this game. It wasn't the last time they were at Lambeau, but that was, how about the 77-yard defensive fumble return by Troy Polamalu?
Yeah.
So, but that one was at Lambeau Field. I just wanted to double check and make sure.
Rodgers was on the team,
and it was a 4-15 game as well.
Who hit Favre though to cause a fumble? I want to say it was it Harrison? No, it wasn't Harrison. Gosh, because it wasn't Troy. Troy was the recipient of the football.
Casey?
No, I don't think it was.
Nope. I got the answer to that.
It was a. What year was that?
This was in 2005. I'm curious if the live chat knows it. I got it. I have it because I have it here in front of me. You ready?
It was a Peasy?
No, it was not. You are not looking at the correct position. It was one to Bryant McFadden.
Ooh.
Oh, cornerback.
B-Mac.
Yeah. That he sacked Brett Favre and forced the fumble, recovered by Troy Polamalu, and returned 77 yards.
Yep. It's a great play.
Yeah.
They're going to need one of those this Sunday. They're going to need one of those this Sunday.
But I mean, they held him to 10 points. But then again, in that game, that pushed the Packers to be 1-7 at the time of that when they beat them in that game. So it's not like it was the Green Bay was tearing up the entire NFL, if you know what I mean.
Brett Favre. Okay. Brian, what's your trivia?
All right. So real quick, we had a former Steeler, a Steeler great, finish his career, played one game with the Green Bay Packers. Who was that?
I got it.
Yeah, I do.
That was Tunch.
Tunch played one game in 1993 with that team. Now, you had two former Steelers who lost in Super Bowl 30 with the Steelers. Then 15 years later, they won a Super Bowl ring as a coach with the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
One was Kevin Green.
That's the easy one.
And so they were both players, though.
They were both Steeler players that were coaches on that team.
I thought you were going to say because wasn't Capers the defensive coordinator?
He was, but I'm not.
But you're going players.
Was Darren Perry?
Bingo.
Nice.
Good one, Jeff. Nice. I knew Kevin Green. I had nothing beyond Kevin Green.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah. That's a lucky guess. It was an educated guess, but it was a lucky guess.
Wow.
Yeah. Look, hey, even a blind squirrel finds nut.
It's like, hey, everybody, I'm a blind nut.
That's me in a nutshell. No, this is me in a nutshell.
If there's any, look, I will apologize because I know we're in cancel culture. Please, nobody be offended because I said it'd be a blind nut. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's me in a nutshell. Okay, let's do some final thoughts here. Brian, go ahead.
You know what? I am feeling great about this game. But before I do that, tell you how great I feel about this game, I just want to do a plug for what Ian's talking about tomorrow, which comes out at noon. They are going to go ahead and debut a new song by Mean Joe Green Day, which is a part of the BTSC staff here. It is something that's going to be great. We're going to have the world premiere all weekend long. I feel like Mark Goodman on MTV way back in the day. I've got the hair for it. And so we're going to have the world premiere, not the video, but we're going to have the world premiere of it. So definitely check out what Yins. If not, stick with BTSC all weekend long. This is a song that I think is going to go viral. But as far as the Steeler game goes, I'm going to say this. I am feeling good about this game. My gut has been right a lot, but my gut is feeling this game. So we're going to go with the gut. And the gut's usually not right. In 2021, the gut's not right if you're around my house. But when it comes to the Steelers, it's right. Take the Steelers this week. I'm excited.
All right, Dave, final thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny because what this job entails means that we kind of have to keep our, fingers on the pulse of Steelers Nation, of everything going on. And boy, if you've listened to Jeff's Let's Ride and everything this week, it would have been a really nice week to just step away because the sky is falling. There's, the end has already happened, and maybe it has. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. I understand where you're coming from, Steelers fans. I've been there. We know the defense mechanism. I don't want somebody to call me fat. It hurts my feelings. So I call myself fat. Okay? Then it's just funny. You don't want those fans of other teams telling you how bad the Steelers are. You want to say how bad the Steelers are because then that way, you're kind of staying ahead of the curve. But you know what? This is still our team. Did they play well last week? No. Are we hoping that that's where they bottomed out? Absolutely. But you know what I'm still going to do? I'm still going to be sitting in front of Jefferson Harmon's TV set. Now, I can't say my own because everyone in the country gets this game except where I live. Unfortunately, but I'm still going to be sitting in front of the TV set. I'm still going to be hopefully not writing articles about injuries. We're still going to be talking about this team because you know why? It's still our team. And even if they're struggling, and even if the offensive line is a disaster, and even if there's just Ben Roethlisberger seeing ghosts, you know what? I'm still going to put on my jersey and get my terrible towel, and I'm going to go wave it, and that's just the way it's going to be because this is still my team, even when they lose.
Amen. Amen.
Love it.
I honestly, I don't want to reiterate everything I'm going to say on Let's Ride. So I'm just going to tell you to check out my podcast tomorrow morning. I hope everyone sticks with us. Everyone has been. It's been a record-setting month for us. In the month, it's the last day of September on the podcast side, and we couldn't do it without all of you that watch us, listen to us, all of the stuff that we do. It is a labor of love. I think, Brian, you'd agree with that, right?
Absolutely. You know what? We work hard at this, but we wouldn't want to work at this if it didn't feel right. And it's a passion for us. So we don't mind putting in the time in because of what we get on the back end. And that's the interaction with all of you. So thank you for all that you do. What you bring to us is so much inspiration. So thank you, BTSC Nation.
Amen. Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
Go Steelers. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.